Welcome to SC4X, Supply Chain Technology and Systems. This is the fifth and final course in the SCX series in the MicroMasters for Supply Chain Management. What we're going to do in this course is take everything we've learned previously and show how it's really done in practice. And we're going to focus, like I said, on technology and systems. So we're going to do four big things here. We're going to talk about data management, we're going to talk about machine learning, talk about supply chain systems and practice, and then we'll finish up with an end-to-end simulation. So let me talk about each of them very quickly. So for data management, everything we've done so far, we've really been able to do it in a spreadsheet because we have small problems. In real life, your data gets bigger and you have massive amounts of data. And the amount of data is only getting bigger with the Internet of Things, more signals, more transactions. As things get more digital, we'll have more data. So you will have massive things, and this is what's creating the new buzzword, is the idea of big data. And the best definition I've heard of big data is anything that crashes Excel, that crashes a spreadsheet. And so we see more and more of that. And so what we're going to teach you is the idea of using a database, and we're going to have structured data. So you're going to learn how to model your data, and you're going to have a series of tables here, and you're going to learn how they connect to each other and how the cardinality works. It takes a little bit of learning, but this is what you need to understand how systems actually use data. Real systems for large companies do not use spreadsheets. You might use that for quick analysis, and you can learn all the concepts, but the heart of it is a relational database, and we'll spend a lot of time learning how to set those up, and you'll learn how to use standard querying language, or SQL. So that's data management. Now, with this massive amounts of data, that also changes the way you can analyze it. And so what we've taught in previous courses is different techniques of optimization, regression, some statistical testing, simulation, all these different techniques, and they're great. But there's a new way you can start processing or trying to understand data for both descriptive and predictive models called machine learning. And this is becoming more prevalent with the large amounts of data. And so you can think of machine learning as getting a computer to learn without explicit programming. You're not telling it exactly what to do. And we'll spend some time on this, but you can break down machine learning into two big categories, supervised and unsupervised. And the real difference between these is whether there's someone training it or not. So supervised is when you have something that is training the data. What do I mean by that? Well, think of regression, because regression, which we learned in an earlier course, is actually a form of supervised machine learning, where I know the correct answer, and I'm seeing how well my model mimics the correct answer, and so I train it. That's why you have training data, and then you come with a model to forecast or to describe. Unsupervised is a little bit different, and for here, you're just looking for patterns. Let me just write this down. Patterns without guidance. And so here you don't have the luxury of being trained. You don't have the correct answers. So think of fraud detection in credit cards. You don't know, that no one's saying, oh yes, this is fraud, this isn't. You're just looking for anomalous patterns. So we'll do a little bit of unsupervised and supervised, kind of tip of the iceberg so you understand the concepts, because it's a new technique that's really well suited for big data sets. Then we'll move on to supply chain systems. And what we're going to do here is talk about how companies actually manage all the things that we taught you throughout the courses. How do they forecast? How do they manage suppliers? How do they manage their inventory? Everything sits on an ERP, an Enterprise Resource Planning System. And this holds all the data that you need to run your company, the transactions, the financial. It's sitting on a relational database. And what we've done is we've learned about the different systems and tools that need this system. So if you look at the supplier relationship management module, that will be tied to the ERP. Something like a master production scheduling and planning system will use that same data. Any MRP system that we talked about and showed how to solve very simply in a spreadsheet also sits within an ERP. Then you think about where things are stored. So a warehouse management system ties to this. An order management system will tie to this. how things move. A transportation management system will tie to this. All of these systems are connected to here. Then there's a customer relationship management. How do you deal with your customers? How do you manage their relationships? And then you can think of an S&OP module that also sits here, and many other ones. The idea here is you've got this shared database, this relational database here that's distributed, and all these planning modules and other operational modules sit on top of it. They need to have a structured way of setting up their data. That's why we use a relational database. And they have to have formal communication. We'll talk about how that works. So, talk about big data and data management, talk about machine learning, talk about supply chain systems. Also, during this whole course, we're going to go through an end-to-end simulation. You'll each be working on this, and we'll tell you some more about this in the next lesson. But essentially, we're looking at that supply chain from that macro point of view, where you source, make, and deliver, and then also have a returns channel and a planning end-to-end. And so the whole idea, we want you to simulate playing different roles to see how sourcing influences your making, influences your delivering, and vice versa. So the whole idea that you'll see in this simulation is that what one function does influences what another function can do. And we want you to understand that interconnectivity. Okay, this is the last class, and what we're going to do in this whole class are these 4 things. What we'll do in this week's lesson is I'll introduce you to data management and explain why we're doing this, the growth of big data, and we'll spend a lot of time getting you up and running on the simulation. All right, so hope you enjoy this week. Hope you enjoy the whole class. Take the time to watch the videos. Please make sure you understand how the Fresh Connection simulation works. Have fun.